But really, I'm really rooted in the development work, the men's self-mastery work, helping
Yes.
men to develop so we can actually build that strong household again. Because if we don't have a strong household, if we don't have that mother and that father, a
Right.
strong, balanced household, that children they're not going to be balanced, and the
Right.
whole community's off, the whole nation's off. But you bring that father back into that household who does his part with that structure. The mother, she
Yes.
does what she does,
Yes.
and then that just rains trickles down. So that's my passion in working with men. I'm an inspirational speaker, and then I also do the entertainment thing. So those things work together. So that's my nutshell on how I got to this point here with you, my brother. Thank you for
Y-
asking.
y-
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stevenson, the Odd Man. He'll unpack wisdom and insights from a cross-section of top quality performers in business, media, sports, entertainment, and lifestyle to uncover key elements to help you live your best audacious life ever. So without further ado, here is the Odd Man.
Greetings and citations, folks. It's Audley Stevenson, and we're back for another edition of hands down the most audacious podcast that you'll find on the internet. This is the Audacious Living Podcast, and we're back. I know it's been a few weeks since we've been on the airwaves, so it's really, really, really good to be back with a brand new episode. And so I really appreciate our listeners for checking us out as always and being with us as we continue our ongoing goal of helping our listeners live their best audacious lives ever. As always, I would encourage you to check us out on our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then, of course, if you are on YouTube or watching this episode on YouTube, you know that you can subscribe to our channel simply by tapping that bell down below. Ding, ding, ding. And that way, you are connected to all good things Audacious related. And again, I thank you for being a part of this journey. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for your ongoing support. Now, on this particular episode of the podcast, I have the distinct honor and privilege, I really mean this, of welcoming a gentleman who has done a lot in the entertainment industry. Issei is joining me on the Audacious Living Podcast. If you're not familiar with that name, you may be familiar with his former name, Kiko Ellsworth. And Kiko was and is, he's an Emmy Award winning actor. He's done a lot of work on the big screen as well as a small screen, and it's really fascinating and wonderful to have him here. He's been on TV shows like Lucifer. He's appeared on Criminal Minds as well as General Hospital. Now, Issei also had a role, and you may remember, and I was a big fan of this movie, Bad Boys 2 to be exact, with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, he certainly had a role in that as well. Issei has gone through his own personal journey, and I'm really happy that he was here with me on the Audacious Living Podcast to share just a glimpse into his own personal life and some of the personal work that he had to do as you know, when we are sometimes when we're lost, being able to sort of find ourselves and get to that place where we need to be or get ourselves onto that path. That is a humongous undertaking. And so Issei certainly talked about that. He talked about finding himself, what it means to be a divine man, and then of course the divine man and how that supports the overall family structure. It really is a wonderful chat. It's a powerful chat that I think you'll all appreciate. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Issei. Enjoy. Issei, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here with me on the Audacious Living podcast. You know, I am always appreciative of individuals wanting to make time and chat like this. So I appreciate you for taking the time. Thank you for being here.
Really, it's really a pleasure being here with you, and especially these subjects. You said taking the time, like this is what I live for. This is what I live for: the inspiration, the empowerment, how to build ourselves up from the inside out, how to this is what I live for. So it's really a pleasure being here.
Awesome. And I certainly want to talk about your journey, because where you are isn't where you started, which we could probably say that for a lot of us, right? Where we are now isn't where we started. But I think really what that does, that speaks to the journey that life really is. Yes. And I think once you can take that perspective, it allows you to sort of take a step back. And then the other thing it does, and I'll stop talking, give you a chance to jump in here. But the other thing it does is it allows you to sort of almost, when you can stop and look back, sort of connect the dots and see where the journey has taken you. And I had to do this to get here, and I had to go there to get here, and it then suddenly all makes sense. And so I think maybe you probably can share a little bit of the perspective, being a former actor and being in the entertainment spotlight. And again, your Kiko Ellsworth was your former name, and now you say your spiritual name. I want us to talk about sort of where your starting point, and tell what got you here to where you're at now.
Well, really, I think broadly speaking, being totally lost for most of my life, for 40 years, being totally lost, making a bunch of mistakes, not knowing who I am, being self-conscious, being low self-esteem, having a big ego. So, puffing up, thinking I'm more than what I am, because overcompensating, because, I didn't really have that male role model, that father, that really loving and balanced and healthy father figure. Gotcha. So that really, I struggled in becoming just a whole being and a whole man, and happy and healthy. And but when I finally got it, it's like, okay, I got it. So and then part of that journey, entertainment, took me through that in the beginning, and then I had to walk away from that, drop everybody, and then really do my soul search. Figure out who I was, the meditation, the yoga, the prayer, like really get in touch with myself and really anchor that in really good. Yes. Then entertainment comes knocking back at my door a couple of years ago. So that's at play. But really I'm really rooted in the development work, the men's self-mastery work, helping men to develop so we can actually build that strong household again. Because if we don't have a strong household, if we don't have that mother and that father, a strong, balanced household, that children they're not going to be balanced, and the whole community's off, the whole nation's off. But you bring that father back into that household who does his part with that structure. The mother, she does what she does, and then that just trickles down. So that's my passion in working with men. I'm an inspirational speaker, and then I also do the entertainment thing. So those things work together. So that's my nutshell on how I got to this point here with you, my brother. Thank you for asking.
You know what I really love? You started talking about the family and the foundational. That's really the pillar of our foundation or our society. It does fall back on the family, and there's two distinct pieces. You've got the mother and the father, but I think it's really important that we get back to that, right? I think for a long time, and for a lot of times, society will tell us it's okay. You don't need that. And, one single parent is enough. And I think one single parent can get the job done. And I'm not saying that that's possible, but in terms of where we want to be, right, and uplifting, you do need both. And I maintain that.
I absolutely, I think you do need both. One can survive and get certain basics done and get by, but that one standing next to, if that one had the one that was partnered with her, does not compare. I'm sorry. Right. I cannot compare being a single father with the version of me that has my partner in a home, and we're balanced and we're doing it. No matter how great I am, I would never be able to compare, ever.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just humbly know that as a truth, and and there's
two heads are better than one, right?
Well, here's a simple plain way to say it like that too. We are yin yang. The yang can't be the yin and the yang. It cannot be done. The yin can't be the yang and the yin. It cannot be, no matter how much they overcompensate. it will
Yes.
always be out of balance. So bringing back that household to that yin yang is just the most ideal, and for
Gotcha.
longevity, for eternal, for balance,
Yep.
that's what needs to be done. So that's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I hear you. I hear you. I thought it was also interesting when you talked about your background. You talked about being lost, and what's fascinating is you had success in the entertainment field. I mean, winning an Emmy is a big deal. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? People, that's a goal for a lot of people. So to get that and still
Yeah.
have that lost feeling, I think what that
Yeah.
says to me, or at least speaks to me, that it's more than just the whether it be the status stuff or the material stuff. In order to be fulfilled in this life, there's a lot more that goes on to the things on the outside, which we kind of focus on.
Yeah. Being, I kind of think of my first career, I guess from 2000 to 2010 or something like that, as my appetizer.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to do some of the things that I did while not having like really me, is decent. But now that I have me, and I actually just experienced being creative for the first time on set,
Okay.
and also being of service on set, like I actually have something to offer now. Not discounting anything that I did or who I was before at all, But now, like it's my saying, once you have you have everything. Now that I have me, man, I'm able to serve so much more and love and offer so much. I mean, I had the most amazing experience that I had on set. So I'm doing this film, right? I'm doing this film. It's called Alone Today. It has to do with domestic violence, sex trafficking, awareness, all this other stuff, right?
Yep.
So I'm doing this film, and it's got Eric Roberts, Frank Whaley, Shannon Elizabeth, Danny Trejo. And so I'm about to do this scene. I'm the bad guy in the scene. I like to play bad guys and do this sort of thing. Can't do it in real life, so you might as well.
The nice guys are the bad guys.
A little bit. So I'm about to pull a gun on Eric Roberts, his character, right? And so that's so if I rewind, if we back it up a little bit, so about an hour before that scene, I'm talking to Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts has an assistant who's a kid, who's like 20 years old. And this kid actually holds up Eric Roberts like cue cards. His lines written real big. So Eric does so many movies that it's impossible for him to like memorize these lines. He's probably doing 20 films simultaneously right now as we speak. Are you going to try to memorize all that? I don't think so. I would hire a kid too to hold some lines for me. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, this kid, I end up talking with him, before I do that scene. And I see this kid, he's nervous. He's this. And I'm like, oh, I can relate to that. And so I end up starting to talk to him, and we start talking about proper breathing from down here, being able to, how that controls your thoughts, how the thoughts control how you feel controls your actions and your spoken words. So we had this conversation that was really inspirational. And so back forward to that scene again, right?
Yep.
And so I'm about to pull this gun on Eric. I'm about to put it to his head and really intimidate him and be the bad guy and everything. And so everyone's director's like, quiet on the set. Shh.
Yeah.
Right. So this kid, so I'm preparing. I got the gun right here. I'm preparing. This kid runs. So he runs behind me to hold the line behind me back here because Eric's in front of me. So Eric can see the line behind me.
Yes.
So the kid runs behind me to hold up the cue cards and trips over one of the C stands, and makes all this noise. I mean, it's loud, right? And so nobody says anything, but everyone's like,
right.
Everybody settle, right? So when this happens, I turn over my left shoulder to look to see what that was.
Yes.
The kid doesn't look at anybody. He doesn't look at the director. He doesn't look at Eric. He looks right at me, and all he does is this. He does this.
He starts breathing, right?
That's all he does. He says that meant he's not going to freak out. He
Right,
says,
right.
Breathe,
right,
and stay chill. That was the best part of the entire shoot for me.
Right.
Being able to contribute and fill somebody up like that, man, it was such an honor to, so now just being able to have that, being able to offer something really to people, is really awesome.
And for that to be the first thing that he does, like his immediate fallback, That means he recognized in that moment what he needed to do to get himself in that right place.
Yes, that's tremendous. He's a quick learner.
Yes,
and we had a great conversation apparently, which is really good.
Right. And my guess is you probably didn't realize the impact that had on him.
I did not.
I
did not. But after the fact,
sure.
When I turned around and looked at him and I saw that, it did something for me. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it confirmed me.
Yes.
It confirmed me on why I came back to the entertainment industry.
Yes.
It affirmed everything for me.
Yes.
Because this is in front of the camera, in front of the screen. That's one service, but the real service is what happens behind the camera.
Got you.
You know, being able to offer tools, peace, love,
amazing,
people behind the camera, and
amazing.
You know, that's what that was for me.
Amazing. Yeah. I love that. As you went through your own process, Issa, I wonder if you could sort of talk about, because that can be messy, I think, is really a fair way. But when we're trying to go through that whole self-discovery and understanding, I wonder if you sort of talk about what that was like for you.
Yeah. So let me see. So in the beginning, so my low hitting rock bottom was in 2009.
Okay.
And the reason why I left the entertainment industry, because I wasn't fulfilled anymore.
Right.
And, you know, I started dropping my agents one by one, until I dropped like both of the last two in the same day. And that was like the happiest day. And, you know, that low point was, I remember I was sitting on the brown carpet of my small little, you know, office, my home office, 10 by 10. And I was crying to at that time, my wife. And, you know, I was so lost. I'd walked away and I told her, I was like, I have no idea who I am. I don't even know how to make money anymore. Wow. You know, I was in the middle of it's like, if you think about a caterpillar becoming a butterfly, I wasn't the caterpillar because I wasn't operating from my ego anymore, yet I hadn't really found myself. So I wasn't the butterfly. That was my chrysalis phase. And that's like really like, I feel the hardest phase, because it's like, who am I? What am I? What am I supposed to be doing? I didn't even know how to dress. I didn't even know, like, all of me was just kind of like, I was like neutral.
Yes.
You know? And so, you know, I ended up reading a book. It was called The Book of Life. And I read it cover to cover. And my soul was like salivating. And what I really got from that book was, you know, that I wanted to be strong on the inside with my energy. I was like, yes. Because at that time I was lifting weights. And I was like, all right, I gotta be strong, gotta be strong.
Right.
And on that day when I read that book, I said, okay, I'm gonna switch it up. I really need to be strong with my energy on the inside. I found actually a Kundalini yoga class. I started doing Kundalini yoga. I started learning how to breathe properly. I started learning how to be still. I started learning how to hold postures for like an hour and mantra and all these things. And, you know, I started investing in my inner world, you know, and that's really what got me on the path of me is, you know, like the saying goes, invest just as much time in your inner world as you do in your outer world.
Gotcha.
You know, and when I started doing that, I started getting a hold of me. And then over the, you know, from 2010 to 2020, I really actually just really built that foundation for me, which everyone has an opportunity to do if we just invest some of that time on our inner world.
Yes. And I'm really glad that you sort of made that final point, because it's within all of our grasp, it's all our reach. We just have to make that choice or make that decision to grab it or go after it. And sometimes people think that choice isn't theirs to make, or they can't make it, or it's too far. And it's breaking down some of those doubts, those suspicions, those fears maybe that we're dealing with to help us get to where we want to go is so key. And I'm sure you probably have to do a lot of work with people to break that stuff down.
Absolutely. I mean, because we kind of get, you know, caught up in thinking that we're these physical vessels here.
Yes.
That we're actually these human beings, right? And, you know, I'm of the philosophy that we're divine beings, you know, and in these physical human bodies. Yes, I have a human physical body. This is my person, right? But who I am, just like the saying goes, the eyes are the window to the soul. That means that the soul is on the inside. Just like you drive a car, the driver's in the driver's seat. The driver's not the car. The driver's inside. So like I look at you, it's like, okay, yeah, the driver is inside. This is just my body. So who I am, who we are, is a divine being. So like what I'm saying is, identifying like how we identify as a being,
Yes.
as a being of light, a spiritual being, God's child or whatever. If we just think of ourselves as a physical human being, that puts us in this physical world. And so we don't really have much pull, right? Or it has to do with, just pulling from your ego in that way. But when we
Yeah.
understand that we're a higher being, a divine being, then we start to realize that, oh, I affect and create this world with my thoughts and my feelings.
Yes.
I affect my world. Oh, okay. That's the switch that I've noticed was very, very helpful, is like identity. Like, who am I really? There's a saying in the 11 laws of God. There's two of them, actually.
Mhm.
The law of Het Heru, and it goes, it is not what you imagine, it is who is imagining.
Oh,
Are you
wow.
a human or a divine being? And then the law of Sebek right after that is, it is not what you think or what you affirm, it is who is thinking and
Oh,
affirming. Are you
wow.
a human or a divine being?
Right.
So
Right.
it's really key, because a human being will look at a building from the street and look up and see a building, be like, wow, that's a tall building. A
Right.
divine being who knows the divine being, in a sense, has the perspective from the top of the building, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and sees the landscape of everything. Now they both got to walk down the street,
That's right. That's right.
but it's all perspective.
That's right. That's right. Well, as one of the things I was going to ask you about, I was going to say, if we can talk about what being a divine being is, but you just, as you talked about it, it's having that higher state. That's essentially what we're talking about, right? Being at a higher state. And so when you tie it into work as your divine, being a divine man, it's as a man operating at a higher state or a higher level.
Yeah, but let's talk about what, like, little granular about what that means. So thank you for saying that. As a divine man, and also in how it relates to a woman, right? And we're talking about that household again.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So a woman, needs to feel safe, right? But in order for her to feel safe, she's got to be able to trust the man that she's with.
Gotcha.
Right. Now, trust is not just a blanket term. She's got to be able to trust him on certain levels. She's got to be able to trust him spiritually first, right? Because look, if he's getting higher guidance, that means that she can actually follow his guidance, because he's getting higher guidance. He's not just getting physical guidance here in the material realm, because if he's only getting physical material guidance with his eyes and his five senses, a woman knows either consciously or unconsciously that sort of guidance will eventually falter. Okay. Because there's much more than just the physical world.
Yes.
A woman knows that innately, because that's just how she's built. She's built from the inside out. Right. So when he's tapped into that spiritual guidance, she knows, I will allow him to lead me. I trust him.
Yes.
He's not, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
Yes.
He's not going, I'm not worried about his ego. He's getting higher. I can trust and follow him. That's the first thing right there.
Yeah.
And then from his spiritual being spiritually tapped in, right? Then is he mentally disciplining himself? Is he training himself? Is he thinking about himself the proper way, or is he beating himself up? Is he shaming himself? He's got to discipline his mind. He's got to be a warrior in his mind, because if he can think about himself properly, then he can think about her properly. Now she's gonna again feel safe, because safety is not just a physical thing. Safety is like, okay, spiritual trust. Is he actually slandering her, or actually abusing her with his mind and his thoughts? Right. And then if those thoughts are in order, then he has a healthy emotional world. His emotions are automatically going to be healthy from that point. Now she's safe emotionally. Now she trusts him emotionally. Right. And then, of course, if you got those in order physically, she's going to be safe. And that's last.
Right.
But those things. So basically, a divine man is one who's tapped in those ways, has that healthy emotional world. He sees himself, the divine being. He loves himself. So he knows how to do that, and therefore he can see her. He hears her. She feels heard and listened to. So he has a balanced perspective. He knows how to actually love himself and contribute. I mean, there's so much, but like as the core between the man and the woman, that's how he shows up with her. where she can trust him and she feels safe. The kids feel safe because he actually keeps himself in order and he's a healthy divine being.
It's so I love the breakdown of that. I really, really do, because it's very, very clear. And a couple of things that you said I want to touch on. The first off is the trust one, right? And the trust the woman would have to have for her man to be successful as a unit. You'll find, and I think the breakdown oftentimes is when the trust isn't there, and from the woman's perspective of their man, and therefore there's not a belief that he can provide or give that safety or that security or the confidence that they need. And sometimes, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but sort of like sometimes resentment builds up almost, because it's like the role that you're supposed to have is not being fulfilled, and maybe I've got to take on a larger role, or I've got to do more, and that's where the breakdown happens, right?
That's exactly it. You tapped right into it. So we tapped on the yin yang earlier.
Yep.
Let me put it like the back up just a little bit more.
Yep.
So our nature between man and women, let's just say, romance has nothing to do with it. Romance is like third on the totem pole, like fourth.
Right.
The foundation of who we are is a co-creative nature. We're the perfect co-creators. We create together.
Yes.
Right. That's our foundation. So when a man has been taken out of the home, or his identity is fractured, which so many of us, our identity with ourselves is fractured, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of repair work there. When he doesn't, because he can even be in a home and not be in the home spiritually, mentally, emotionally, but he's there physically. The shell is there, and that's not going to work.
Right.
So a woman feels, just like you said, she feels that void, right? She feels what's missing from him.
Yes.
And there's a stress, there's a struggle, because now the structure of the house, she's forced to uphold it.
Yes.
And now she has to overcompensate. She has to come out of her natural receptive state, her natural intuitive state, her natural creative state, right? As a queen doesn't go out there necessarily and fight the battle, and she has to,
sure,
but she's not supposed to.
That's right.
She's supposed to fight out there for her. And she's supposed to give us higher guidance, right? So, but if she has to come out of her nature to be that yang energy to uphold the house, that's totally out of the balance. So one of the ways on how we get it back into balance is that we have to first acknowledge that, okay, like, what are we going for? We're going for this balance again.
Right.
Now the man has to do the work, ideally have role models and mentors, and start to learn how to be a healthy man again, and heal his pains and his traumas, so he can start to learn how to penetrate the space healthily. Because a woman wants to be penetrated, but just the right way. You got to do it healthily.
Right.
You can't do it in a toxic way. She doesn't want that. And a man wants to penetrate too, but he wants to do it in the proper way.
Correct.
Right. But we have to relearn how to do that properly, or to penetrate and fill that yang space, so we can be that balanced yin yang again in that perfect household. You see, so she has to learn how to retreat a little bit. So there's a void.
Yes.
Right. And it's interesting, because that's kind of scary a lot of the times, because things can collapse if she were to not.
Oh, absolutely. You only can do so much, right? You can't do it all.
Do so much. So if she starts to retreat, things can collapse. But there has to be an opportunity for him to start to learn how to trust himself and start to, be this sort of structure again. And he's going to fumble. He's going to mess up. He's going to do that. Because that's just the process. And eventually, if he's got enough grit, if he's got some support, if he got enough fire, if she can speak life into him, if he can speak life into himself, if they can actually start to work together, if they can start to build that foundation together, he'll start to learn how to do it again.
Got you. No, I love it. I think it's right. And again, the breakdown of of how it's all structured makes so much sense, right? You need two sides. We talked about it. We keep going back to that, but there's so much truth to that. You need that two sides to make it all work and hold together. You work with a lot of clients to sort of take them through a transformative process, if you will, to getting that state where we need to be. What does that look like? Because I'd imagine for some it's different, given that we're all at different points and different places. So it's not necessarily a blanket approach. Well, here's what you do and you're all there. I want to sort of talk about what you need to go. I guess there's a sort of an identification or assessment process to figure out where each individual is at before you move forward, right?
Yeah. So definitely there's seeing where they're at first. So I'm just gonna give you like broad strokes,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So just seeing where they're at, seeing how they've arranged their life, seeing how they're thinking. So I kind of call this like search and rescue. Like,
Okay.
okay, because what we do is we can be lost in the darkness of our own mind, and we can
Yes.
be lost in the darkness of our own space in here. So when I work with them, I was like, let me just kind of feel like where you're at so I can actually locate you within yourself. Because my job is to like really help them to connect them with themselves. So eventually they don't need me. Because again, once you have you my job to help them connect with themselves so they have themselves, right? The power of themselves, the power of their God being in themselves. They don't need me. I just did the work. You know what I'm saying? So figuring out where they're at, right? And then from there, being able to start to connect them with themselves, right?
Yes.
That looks different for everybody, So, a lot of the times, like when I work with somebody, like when I work with a man, like a private client, things like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
we'll do an assessment, right? And then I'll see how he's arranged his life. I'll see where he's spending most of his energy. I'll see how he's, thinking through conversation. I'll see how he, like I mentioned, like the 11 laws of God. I'll see, does he even believe in a higher power? I'll see like where he's at. And then really within, whether it be a woman or a man, mainly I work with men, it always starts with, because then the root is how they identify with themselves.
Got you. Yes.
It's figuring out where they're at, how they are identifying, right?
Yep.
How they've arranged their physical life, how they go to sleep, how they get up, how they're programming themselves on a day-to-day basis, figuring all that stuff out. Like, okay, got you. I see what needs to be adjusted. And then it's like, okay, how are you, identifying with yourself? And then it's like, okay, then we start to say, okay, do they even believe in a higher power, which will allow higher guidance, more energy to come through? Are they even accepting of any sort of programming for themselves that they are more than just a human being? And if they are, then we start anchoring in that divine being identity from that place. From that place, really, it's all like custom and things like that. The program, they create the program themselves, but really getting to that foundation right there, that's it. Like I had my daughter ended up, long story short, I was at my like soul brother's house, and she was a 10 at the time, I think. She led a blessing of my soul sister that was pregnant. She went and she did a drawing. She said some words. She actually grabbed some candle wax from the other room. Now, she didn't know that these candles were actually a part of a blessing ceremony that my sister's other women just did 2 weeks prior.
Wow. Okay.
My daughter went in there and grabbed some of that and made that a part of her ceremony. She did it, and I wasn't even there. I was like in the other room.
Yeah.
She did this all on her own. I cried like a big baby, wailing, because like as parents, you just don't know if you're giving them up and you do this. I realized that my job, having her have hold of herself, the core foundation of my job was done. She had who she was. If she can guide herself, trust herself to lead a ceremony, to do all these things, and be guided to tap in, to trust, to pick melted candle wax. Now everything else from here is icing on the cake. It's fine tuning. So that's what I help men to do, is to have themselves, to trust, so that no matter where they are in the world, no matter who they're with, no matter what's going on, they have this incorruptible foundation to their own guidance, their own wisdom, their own self, no matter what's happening in their world.
Man. I, as you're telling that story, and thank you for sharing that story very quickly. A couple weeks ago, literally just happened recently. My son, 16 years old, right? I'm a father of 3. My last one's a boy, and my father's quite happy about that because the name gets to carry on. So he was really happy I had his son last. And we were driving, and we started talking about inspiration. And he said, "Yeah, Dad, you're really inspiring." And I said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "How have I inspired you?" And he said, "Well, I see how you engage with people, and I see how you talk to people, how respectful you are to people, and it's taught me to be more confident. And when I talk to people, I'm finding my voice, and I'm gonna tell you, say, I was like, my job is done. I'm good.
Yep.
Like, I'm good. Like, I've done, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good now. Take me. Like, I'm ready to go. Because
Yeah.
you, as a parent, you want to pass along and the tools your children can use. And I'm gonna back up. As a man, as a father, you want to pass along the tools that your children can use. And the fact that my son can now say, this is what you've taught me to make me better. Like there aren't words that can describe that. There's just not. And so as you talk about your experience with your daughter, as that you pat, you know, what she's taken from you and what she's able to go out in the world and now, it's beautiful. So it's a beautiful thing. Really, really is.
Yeah, it is. And congratulations. Did you cry too?
Oh my gosh. Listen, we were driving. And the other thing that he said to me too, and I don't know where he was getting deep on me. And he said, you also taught me work ethic. You work really hard. And I was like, thanks, man. And we got to where we got to, and I was like, I'll meet you inside. And he left, and I stood there, and I was like, man. I was blubbering. I was like, wow. So that recent, actually, I'm talking now, I'm getting a little choked up here, right? Because it just happened. But again, it's the impact, right? And look, in a parent, what you're wanting to do, what you want to leave with your children. And so, and so in the context of, you know, we're talking about the context of the divine man, it's even more powerful for me as we're talking about this, because it's like, yeah, this is what the goal is for me as a father and as a man.
Yeah, and it's and not many, and I hear it so much, and we're working on this because we have men's groups as well called the Wolfheart Way, and then I have my program called the Divine Man.
Yeah.
And you know, we talk with women and men because the ultimate goal again is that structure in that household, right?
Yes.
The ultimate goal is how we coming together. And so many women, especially, they're like, well, where is this divine man? Like, where is this healthy man where I can actually trust him and feel safe? Like, I've never felt safe. And so many women have just never, ever felt safe, have always felt attacked or manipulated or in some way not appreciated, not seen, not heard, disrespected, suppressed by some sort of patriarchal, toxic male. They don't even know that in large part that a healthy man actually exists, that they can feel safe around, that they trust, that's actually healthy. So that's actually really, really important for, you know, our viewers to know, for women to know, for men to know that they're like, we're back. Like the original man, the divine man, however you want, the complete man, the well-integrated man, whatever your words are, God's man, the holy man, we're back. Like we're back. You might not see us in mass. You probably never see us on the TV or in the news, things like that. So don't support there. But we are here and we are teaching our other brothers how to actually be themselves, how we're holding our brothers accountable. We're teaching them how to actually channel and embody the divine father energy, right? And you know, everyone's been viciously attacked by this patriarchal violent man. You, me, women, children, nobody's been left. We've forgotten ourselves. So we actually are repairing ourselves too. But just know in your hearts and in your minds that we are back, that divine man that you can trust, that will do the right thing, that will do the right thing for everybody involved, not just for ourselves, not just for you, but for everybody.
Everybody,
you know?
Absolutely.
And we'll tell you, you know, oh, well, I don't agree with that. I love you, but I don't agree with it. Like, we're not always going to agree with you. It's not going to be like that. So it's a well-balanced man that you can actually follow. We know when to take your lead too.
Yes,
we're not
absolutely.
always leading the way.
That's right.
You see what I'm
That's
saying?
right. That's right.
It's just yin yang.
Yes.
So know and trust that we are back. It's a feeling. Look for us. It's a feeling that's there. You pass divine men all the time, but he might not look like how you look, maybe someone you're attracted to, but you want to start to identify your brothers, your divine brothers, because you're going to have the protection of your divine brothers all around you. Like, I'll just wrap it up with this, because ultimately, you know, like from a woman's perspective, you want to be able to identify a lot of your divine brothers, because really, I see a world where a woman can walk down the street and she sees 10 men are strangers, and she's like, oh, I see 10 of my brothers that will stand up and protect me. That's where that's know powerful. We're moving. We're not there yet, but what's happening right now is this old energy, this old man that's violent. He's dying off like dinosaurs. He's not hanging around.
No,
it can't last forever. That can't last forever. God wouldn't let that last forever.
No.
But there's value from that experience. We all learned a lot from that trust, So
Man, I love. Listen, I love the fact that you're lighting men on fire from the inside and doing some powerful things, and it's sorely needed. It absolutely is, and I'm glad that you stepped up the way you did, and the way you are, and continue to do, and you're helping, and you got your workshops. I wonder if we can let our listeners know who are absolutely. There's no question you're lighting them on fire right now. Our listeners are hearing you. If they wanted to learn more about you and your work, where can we send them? You say?
Yeah, I'm on the social media platforms, mainly TikTok and Instagram.
Okay.
And then from there, you can get to like my coaching and stuff as well too. But my handles for both of those are Divine Man, a Divine Man. I'm one of the Divine Men, a Divine Man. That's my handle. It's nice and easy on Instagram and TikTok. So yeah. I'm mainly my main platform is TikTok. That's where I like, and then my trickle goes onto the Instagram.
Gotcha, man. I don't know why you get stuck playing all these bad guy roles in these movies and TV shows and stuff, man.
Yeah, man. I love it. I can turn, look, it's all about that shadow work, right? Like being able to access that shadow work.
I love it. Well, listen, I'm mad appreciative of you taking a time like this and sharing. Again, this podcast, we center so much of our conversations around being bold and audacious, because I truly believe that when you take that first step, and people might go, oh, well, hey, that's a big leap of faith. But if you take that first step, that's just the one of many. And it's all one foot in front of the other, and it's easy to look at a journey and say, man, it's a long way there, but the journey from and I say, that journey from 1 to 100 might be long, but you still got to take that one. And that's where the audacious comes in. You got to really step into that and be that person. But the piece around it that I center around, I remind people of, is the ripple effects that it can have, right? So what I do for me may be for me because I want to better myself, but perhaps in some way there's someone seeing what I'm doing. I've inspired someone else. I've impacted someone in a way that they felt they can also make that first step and create those ripples. And so hearing the work that you do, that's so much in line, and I'm very much appreciative of you being here, man.
Oh man, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I mean, and your son, that's a testament right there, because if we can't affect those right around us, then there can be a missing, and I've had to learn that. I think many of us had to learn those same lessons. Like, I got to get this right, and then those closest to me right, and then I can really affect change in the world. And so, thank you for your inspiration and holding this space, doing the work like truly with your family, with your son, and showing up, man, and shining your light, brother. Appreciate you, love you. Thank you for being a servant leader that you are, and just shining your light, brother, man. It's really amazing. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate my man. All the best. Thank you for being here, and keep doing your thing.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Back we are on the podcast, and I really want to send my thanks and appreciation to Issei for being here and sharing some really important lessons in understanding what the divine man is all about. Issei, again, thank you for being here, and continue blessings, my friend, and congratulations on all your success and all the wonderful things that you've done and the things that you'll continue to do. Again, I applaud you, and I really, really commend you and respect the work that you're doing. When I think back to my conversation with Issei, he really left us with a lot of great nuggets of insight. But if there's just one thing that I'd want to take from my chat with him, it would be this. While the idea of getting lost may seem scary to some, there are some times when it can prove to be very beneficial in the process of finding our true selves. Losing ourselves on the pathway of life is completely normal. Our journey isn't a narrow forward path, but rather a rocky road with twists and turns that can send us in all sorts of ways that can veer us off course. It can happen quite easily because we're not always aware of the impulse choices we make and how they're contributing to the person that we're supposed to be. In other instances, we may find ourselves listening to voices on the outside of us instead of following our own intuition. To avoid getting lost altogether, I would suggest that we continually question the choices we make by asking ourselves while we're making sure that our inner knowing is speaking to whatever it is that we're considering. Use your own voice and don't rush into decisions. Remember, you are the expert of your own life. You must believe in yourself, your strength, and your abilities. When you move forward honoring you, life can be so much more exciting. You see all that you are and all that you're capable of, and that's audacious. Hey, listen, if you haven't registered for email notifications of the podcast, please know that you can do so simply by heading over to bestaudaciouslife.com. All you've got to do is enter in your email address and you'll be connected to all good things audacious related. We've sadly come to the end of another episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. And as always, I'd like to send out a thanks and shout out of appreciation to our amazing, audacious listeners for your tremendous ongoing support. I really mean it when I say it is truly, truly appreciated. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.